Hello everyone watching on TTG's Facebook page. It's senior reporter Tom Parry here, and welcome to the latest in our TTG face-to-face series, where we speak to industry leaders about how their brands and companies have been dealing with the incredible fallout from the coronavirus crisis. This afternoon, I'm delighted to be joined by Jo Rzymowska, Celebrity Cruises Vice President and Managing Director for EMEA. Jo, how are you getting on? How are you?
Hi, Tom. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a very long time, since pre-lockdown. Well, thank you. I think we're into week 7 now, aren't we? Week 6 or week 7?
I believe so, yeah.
Come-
God, the days and weeks just falling into each other.
Yes. I remember the last time I got in my car was March the 18th. So there we have it. Quite incredible. I hope it's still there, by the way.
Oh God, I hope so. Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to have you, Jo. And just to say to everyone watching on Facebook, do sort of put your questions in if you have any questions for Jo, and we'll try our best to get to them. I just want to sort of kick off by saying, Jo, yeah, it was sort of alluded to it a little bit there, but can you sum up the last sort of few weeks and months for you and the team? It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, in many ways?
Well, it clearly has. I think the pace of change and the pace in the way in which we're dealing with this simply unprecedented, extraordinary time that we're living through is something that none of us could have imagined in January or even February. And I think the way that we've had to adapt and really roll with it has been a really significant learning curve. And I'm proud to say, as an organisation, RCL Cruises, and as a team, I really think that we've taken crisis management to the best that we can to make sure that we look after our guests and our crew, and very importantly, all of our staff as well. So significant amount of work going into that, has been going into that, and will continue to go into that.
That's fantastic. I know when things sort of do go awry, the cruise industry has a way of finding a way and being resilient, doesn't it? I think perhaps there's a chance to really start is to say, obviously the Apex christening that was for the end of March was obviously unfortunately cancelled with what was going on. I wanted to get your take, Jo, on sort of what that meant for the UK team, as it was such a landmark moment, wasn't it, meant to be? And I know there's a lot of effort went in from yourself and many members of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were, obviously once things started in Asia with the pandemic, we were watching it closely. As I said, I don't think any of us believed that it would get to the stage that it has got to, but it did. So therefore, we looked at what we would do. Again, making sure that we looked after our guests and our crew and our trade partners being the primary focus. We then basically decided that it was not appropriate to continue with the godmother naming ceremony, that being such a celebratory situation. And then, of course, we decided that, or events then really happened, that we took the decision, before it became impossible to actually hold the event, that we would make a decision to postpone the inaugurals, which definitely was clearly the right thing to do. And we took delivery of her in a very unique way, an industry first. We took virtual delivery of Celebrity Apex, and actually it was quite a momentous occasion. Clearly we weren't all there, but she is looking beautiful, and we look forward to when she officially joins the fleet.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing video. If anyone hasn't seen it, definitely check it out there. And yeah, definitely an industry first in that. And obviously among the difficult challenges and sad news for the industry, there's been some quite nice stuff from Celebrity, the way you've been looking after your crew on board ships, Jo, haven't they? I know if anyone's seen Captain Kate McHugh on board Edge, is that right? She's been giving out sweets to the crew, and they've sort of been making the best of a bad situation, haven't they, Jo?
Well, I mean, our primary focus is obviously getting all of our guests home, and that it's highly complex. We're dealing with governments from around the world, port authorities from around the world, and as the world sort of went into lockdown, we really focused on making sure that we got all of our guests home, and now we're working how we get all of our crew home as well. So what's really important whilst we're doing that is that we make sure that we're doing everything that we can to look after them. We absolutely want to get all of the crew members home, and you're right, Captain Kate is one of many of the captains who's making sure that we do all that we can on board to keep the teams motivated, well looked after, and to make sure as well that they're all really knowing everything that we're doing. They've received constant information, and in fact a letter from Lisa Lutoff just yesterday explaining everything that we're doing. So we've got about 12,000 crew home already, and we're now we've got 16 ships across the RCL fleet, to really work on getting the remainder of our crew home over the next few weeks, and that's now our priority.
It's fantastic. I know how much lines value their crew. So when you say it's a priority, that's definitely a thing that you really do mean. I appreciate that.
I mean, I think we got to, from our point of view, we've got an executive committee, Richard Fain, Lisa Lutoff, Michael Bailey have been with the business for over 30 years. In fact, Lisa's celebrating 35 years this year. Michael Bailey has gone from purser to president. Lisa Lutoff has run the hotel operations for many years. And always at the core of our business is the health and well-being of our crew and our guests. So going through what's happening at the moment is really significant. And as I said, it's the number one priority for all of us, and nobody more so than the executive committee team.
And talking about sort of the current situation now, I know that obviously RCL, just to check, is suspended sailings until June the 11th, and there's in the US the CDC orders for no sail until sort of the end of July. Really, I wanted to ask Jo, from a sort of a market and demand sort of point of view, how difficult will it be for the 2020 sailings and sales to bounce back? Really, is 2020 sort of a written off year, would you say, or?
Clearly 2020 is an extraordinary year, and a year that all of us in the industry will remember, not for the right reasons. That said, there are learnings that I think we'll take into our new world, because I call it AC and BC and AC, so before COVID and after COVID, and I think there are some learnings definitely that we will take with us. So we don't yet know. That's the reality. None of us know. As we're listening, watching, we're working with governments, we're working with senior advisors around the globe to try and understand what's going to be happening when. And we will only go back into the water when we know it's absolutely the right thing for our guests and also for our crew. And at the moment, that is unknown. We have a very significant return to service program that we're working on across the business, and I think it's very important now. I'm talking as RCL Cruises across the 4 brands, so Royal, Celebrity, Azamara and Silversea, on our return to service program. And the first thing is deployment, where and when. The next thing is how, and that's really important. So what are the new protocols that we're going to be putting in place, working with Clear across the industry, and then as we do at RCL Cruises, going over and above that from a health and sanitation point of view, to make sure that our guests know that this is absolutely a safe holiday. And then the third area then is the messaging and the marketing. How do we go to market? How do we let our guests know what's happening? And in doing so, making sure that they're fully aware of the increased protocols that we're putting into place, and being quite clear about that. And that's what we are working through. And then the fourth key area and critical area is how we continue to engage our trade partners and educate our trade partners so that they can sell with confidence, knowing that the guests are going to have a great holiday, and also that they're going to have a very safe holiday as well.
And yeah, you mentioned obviously trade partners there. How are you as a Celebrity, and perhaps, I don't know, wider group, or perhaps just Celebrity, how are you looking to stimulate agent sales from there? Is there anything you can do to help them on that? And do you think that lines will have to drop price to try and be competitive once we go, post COVID?
So we're very focused on how we engage the trade. And again, across the 4 brands, we launched our new portal, RCL Cares, only last week, I think, or the week before.
It's a long time ago.
It feels like a year ago, but it was actually only a few weeks ago, literally a couple of weeks ago. And again, that's for all 4 brands. And it simply is making sure we said, what can we do to help the trade during this time? And RCL Cares is all about putting all of the information that is useful to the trade in one place. So it's gathering all of the information from ABTA, it's gathering all of the government information, it's making sure that we're putting all of our deployment changes on there, and very importantly, our Cruise with Confidence. So our Cruise with Confidence program and how that works for our trade partners to help secure future bookings and to help the current guests who are booked to move their bookings if they so want to. And then also the areas such as well-being, health and well-being, and we're looking at working with other partners, because we know during this time, listen, at the end of the day, the reason we're all here is because there's a pandemic going on in the world. So making sure that we focus on our health and well-being and safety is our number one priority. So we're looking at how we can give them that information and how we can engage them as well and provide some fun facts and fun information, as we're all doing Zoom quizzes and Zoom calls with friends when we're not on a work WebEx call, that is. It's important that we help the agents, and we're getting great feedback from that. We literally, as I said, launched it just over a week ago, and we're just now getting ready to launch it throughout our European markets as well. So that's one thing that we've been doing. Another thing from a celebrity point of view, we've got our live chat. We're doing lots of virtual coffee mornings and get-togethers with our trade partners. Personally, myself and Claire are speaking with a number of trade partners every week to gain their feedback, to see what else we could be doing. I'm proud to say that on the feedback we are getting is that we're answering the calls in about 30 to 40 seconds, which is great. The sales teams are available night and day. Claire, myself, all of us, we are here because we know that at the moment you need quick responses, you need quick answers, and we're doing all that we can to make sure that we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we know it's important that we're there to help as much as we can, support the trade to make sure that between us we do not lose sales and that we keep sales going forward into 2021.
You mentioned the cruise, the confidence that RCL has, and are you finding that customers, even just anecdotally, customers are choosing to rebook and reschedule rather than cancel? Is there even a rough percentage you could put on it to the numbers of customers who?
Yes, I'm delighted to say yes. I'm delighted to say it's still early days, so a lot of them have not yet been processed, but I'd say about over 50% we're looking at the future cruise certificate. Mm-hmm. As you know, it's to the value of 125% of the holiday, so that incremental 25% they can put towards next year's holiday. The longevity of the vouchers is proving to be very well received as well. So overall, from within the industry, we're getting the feedback that the 125% is a very attractive offer to consumers. We're not pushing them to say you've got to decide now, but you've got it, and when you're ready to book, you can use that voucher. But of course, if the consumer does want a refund, and there are people out there who absolutely do want a refund, I want to make it very clear, again, across the board for RCL Cruises businesses, we are absolutely offering refunds, and we are fielding those as quickly as we can for the consumer.
In terms of how the market sort of re-energizes itself, post COVID-19, do you think that, I think you mentioned it, alluded to it at the start, in terms of how lines market themselves, do you think things will have to change? I know on Friday your Royal Caribbean International counterpart Ben Bolden said he thought perhaps it's a move away from perhaps just being price driven to being more talking about health and safety protocols and that kind of side of things. Would you agree with that? Do you think the lines might move in that direction?
I think what's really important from our point of view, as it always has been, is brand integrity. We are a brand where value is important, but price is not the key factor. We have no intention of changing that. It's really important to us, and we know that from all the research that we do, that our discerning guests, our luxury lovers, those who are prepared to pay more for the finer things in life, are prepared to do so. Of course, people are looking for value, but the lowest lead-in price certainly is somewhere where we haven't been and we have no intention of going. Value, as I said, is key, and that's always been very important to us. I think the messaging, at the end of the day, people still want to know that they're going to be going on holiday and that it's the right holiday for them, and what is it that's going to make them have a good time on holiday. However, following the situation that we're in now, absolutely, consumers are looking for brands, be it in any walk of life, but particularly for holiday brands that they know that they can trust and that they know genuinely will have their health and safety at the highest order. And that, I think, is really important. That's what we're spending pretty much all of our time focusing in on as an organisation, as an industry with Clear, and that will absolutely be a priority. What is our messaging? What have we changed? What is different? I explain it a bit like post 9/11 for the aviation industry, albeit that it takes longer to get on the plane. Actually knowing that there was a restriction on the number of liquids that you could take. You have to take your shoes off, and the cockpit cabin was now locked, actually made you feel better and makes you feel better. So of course there are areas that we will be focusing, and I use that as an example of heightened sanitation and health protocols as for when we go back into service.
So that'll almost be the legacy of COVID-19 then, do you think? But I suppose that the cruise industry has always had such a stringent health and safety, and yeah, do you think that the industry's been unfairly targeted because of that? Just because people see big ships on the news and they think perhaps that's where, you know, the virus came from, which is obviously nonsense. But do you think that because of that, that's why the industry has come in for a bit of a bashing? I think it's been a quote that people have used.
I think it's been unfortunate, without a doubt. You're absolutely right. As an industry, health and safety has always been paramount, always has been. We have spoken about it, but we haven't spoken about it as a primary messaging. I think absolutely now it's about, we've always been open and honest. And I think we now need to make it very, very clear. And we also need to give the travel trade partners the tools to understand that as well. So, but this is all done with making sure that the guest still has a great holiday, but absolutely paramount within that is that they know all of the actions that have been taken over and above because of this pandemic that we're in. And that goes for the whole of the industry. It goes for hotels, it goes for airlines, it goes for the whole of the travel industry.
What advice would you give an agent who has customers who perhaps were thinking of trying cruise before this happened and they're quite wary of it? Maybe what sort of advice would you say as a cruise line to an agent to perhaps tell their customer to put their sort of worries at ease, Jo?
Well, I think that's why we're pulling together now the detailed information, and I'd much prefer, rather than rushing into things or giving snippets now, we're working through it. We're going to have very, very stringent new protocols. We're pulling all of that together, and when we're ready as an industry with Clear and Andy and the exec-com that I'm on, we meet every week working through the absolute standards that we have as an industry, which are significant, but as we take them now to the next level. And then as RCL Corporation, we always go above and beyond. And then we're working through those as well, together with when we're going back into service. And we're putting all of that together. And when we're ready, we will absolutely announce that. But at this stage, we're not ready to announce that. And I think it's important and prudent that I wait until that time.
So do you think perhaps things like social distancing will have to become a part of it? I know it's quite an abstract thing at the moment and things are so up in the air, but I think people have predicted perhaps that lines might sail with less passengers perhaps to help that. And it sounds like that might be an industry sort of strategy for a while to come, at least while there's no vaccine around. But
I think there's sort of three, there's the testing side and the medication side, and then there's the vaccine side. And of course, none of us absolutely know what's going to be happening when. There's different messaging on the vaccination as to when that will be. There's some people saying it's close, 18 months, 2 years. We're working through what the scenarios could be. We need to be flexible on that and certainly ready for as and when that happens. But pre that, from when there's significant medication and testing, and that's what we're really working towards now. So all I can, again, I'm not going to I haven't got the detail to go into at the moment, Tom, because it's such a moving feast, but suffice to say that's being worked on with both internally and with significant advisors from around the world, from the top sort of health and protocol areas around the world. So I know that we will have a very good programme for when we're ready to announce that.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm looking forward to hear that at the time. We're just having some a few messages coming in saying how impressed they've been with the celebrity team in terms of, I believe their agents who are saying they've been so helpful and super fast service and stuff, just to feed that back to you, Jo. I was just wondering in terms of, I think we sort of touched upon it in terms of helping agents to, obviously it's a difficult time with lines perhaps not actually operating now. How do agents promote cruise going forward? How do they sort of future plan, and how are you guys helping them? Are there some deals to come out and to sort of to tempt customers back? Or
so there's a couple of things actually. One is content, and content is king, and we always have been, and we've been even more proactive on content, and we're getting great response to that from our agent partners. So each of the sales team have their own significant social Facebook pages and interaction with their own trade partners, and then as a business we're actually doing, and as a brand we're doing lots of social content to keep people engaged with us. which is really important because we're all dreaming. None of us can wait to go on that holiday, right? So we're all dreaming about that. There's two things sort of hot off the press that we are launching, actually. One is just this week, we're from a trade point of view, we're doing Treat Yourself Tuesday. So starting next Tuesday, we've been thinking about saying, whilst people are working from home, what can we do to engage them more from our celebrity rewards program? And, you know, so from each booking that everybody does, they can earn up to £20. And from that, then we've decided that as people are more at home, we're doing sort of home entertainment. So I'm delighted to say we've partnered up with Netflix starting next week.
I sort of know half measures. That's straight in there with the.
There we are, you see. So people can then exchange their celebrity rewards points for Netflix gift cards. And then we've got various other partnerships that we're going to be releasing over the next few weeks. We think that's an appropriate partnership whilst people are definitely more at home. And then, you know, you touched on it. We're seeing good green shoots, not sheets, but shoots for 2021. And we're seeing the Caribbean, Alaska, and also very much our sailings from the UK. So we're definitely seeing good response and good sales for 2021. Again, in talking to the partners and the meetings that we've been having from the live chats and the meetings that Claire and I have been having, we have taken the feedback from our partners, and we're launching our first sale this Thursday, actually, the Dream Big Sale. It's going to run for a week, and effectively during that time frame, we're going to be increasing our added value of our choice of 2 perks to 3. So it's going to be drinks, it's going to be gratuities and Wi-Fi for that period of time on all sailings that are open. So, and we're doing a lot of social around that. We're providing all the information to the trade, and the response has been good. So that's just started today, in giving them the information, and that launches this Thursday. So those are 2 things that are hot off the press. Listen, without a doubt, the trade wants to hear from us. The trade wants all of the tools and tips. As we all know, quite a few of them are furloughed at the moment, but they can do voluntary work, and they can also do training. So our RCL Cares program is going to be launching a training program as well for them in the coming weeks. So we're very focused on how we can help them to keep focused, to keep their guests, their consumers engaged during this difficult time.
All sounds fantastic stuff. I was going to ask that actually in terms of the RCL Cares sort of platform, if new content, very much like Netflix, Jo, if new content will be put on there and it will sort of be expanded upon as the weeks go on. Is that right?
Absolutely, and we see this continuing as we come out of this scenario as well, because of the feedback that we're getting from it. So we've currently got a rolling about 8-week program that we've got planned. And we're always looking for new ideas and new content. We've got some guest speakers and guest ideas who are going to be coming in to help the travel agents in selling, help them in mental health and well-being, and in engagement during this time frame.
It's fantastic. We just had a couple of questions come in. Actually, we had one at the start here that it's from Jonathan Fletcher, and he said there's been a lot of concern around disabled guests. But when they announced sort of no sale, and a lot of elderly customers over 70 as well, that would be, you know, refused embarkation. Would you be able to sort of reassure agents on that in terms of what the rules are? I know there was some sort of letter, wasn't there, I think, for over 70s that Clear had said wasn't the case. Would you be able to confirm that?
Yeah, we're looking at the sort of, obviously from a point of view of health of guests, it's going to be critical health for everybody traveling everywhere. So this will link into the testing that we are looking at. And rather than it being ageist, I would like to say, we're looking at being for anybody across the board. So we need to know that when people sail with us, we need to understand going forward now, as the airlines will do, as I'm sure hotels will do, the health situation of our guests. And that's really what we're focusing in on, as opposed to just the age of the guests.
Yeah, I suppose that sort of plays to celebrities' inclusive nature, isn't it? I suppose, and as a group as well.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks, Jo. I just wanted to say, I know you put out that sort of very heartfelt video message to agents, Mr. Quamison, last week. Again, it feels like it was 2 minutes ago, but now it was last week, where you sort of thanked them for their, I think it was their sheer, grit and determination, which is a really, really
Determination,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say what your message would be to agents watching now, to sort of, I don't know, just to stick in there and keep at it. I suppose everyone's working really hard.
Listen, I think so. Again, we fully understand how difficult this time is. We really do. I think grit and determination is what's needed. I also think in times of adversity, great things happen as well. I think there are new ideas that are coming up. I think there are new ways of working that are coming up that will make businesses more efficient and more effective, and that hopefully we will take with us into what becomes the new norm. I think if people are thinking that the old world's going to come back, I don't think it is. I think it's really important that we get into a state of mind of thinking about the new world as opposed to the old world. What can we take with it that we've learned into the new world that will make us better? And how can we make sure that we do everything we can for those who are running businesses to protect our staff, number one, and look after our staff is absolutely key. Make sure that we're communicating with your customers. Even if you feel that you haven't got a lot to say at the moment, keep communicating with them. But building up that relationship is absolutely key. And then how do we, going forward, make sure that you've got everything at your fingertips to make sure that you're working with brands that are going to be looking after you and in particular, your customers. And I think that's really important. I really do hope that people really think about that carefully as they look at who they will work with in the new world.
It sounds like that's quite a nice sort of way of looking at things, and I suppose it sounds like we're going back to square one. I know some people have made that analogy that everyone will be a startup once this starts again, right? Every company, the ones who are leading the way might not necessarily be anymore. Is that how it feels, especially in the cruise sector? It's whoever sort of adapts best sort of post-COVID will be the ones to take charge.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, my motto is you've got to make sure that the comeback is stronger than the setback, and that's really, I think, a motto to take, and something that we're certainly very focused in on at Celebrity Cruises and at RCL generally.
Well, then that's always nice to finish on a positive note there, Jo. Thank you very much for your time, and yeah, looking forward to, I think, agents or Netflix watching. I know everyone's working really hard now, but if everyone does have a few minutes to get on board with the incentive there and make the most of that, well, thanks very much. Well, thanks for joining us, Jo.
Thank you, and thank you very much to all of the watchers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. All the best.